So in our previous tutorial, we started with the classes and functions. In that we have discussed the topics pure functions and modifiers, and we have learned how the comparison between them. So in the present class, we'll discuss with the prototype development versus planning. So what is a prototype development? A way of developing a programs starting with the prototype and gradually testing and improving it. So basically we just generate some draft thing. We started performing some basic computations on it. We'll test it. If you find any errors, keep correcting those errors. So when we are using this type of approach, so it is more efficient or effective, what we can, but it can lead to a code that is unnecessarily complicated, because we keep checking for the errors and keep correcting it, because we are keep on improvising it. So that leads to an unnecessarily, it will become more complicated. It is unreliable because we will be having more number of cases when we are solving the problems. So when we are doing like this, it becomes more harder to know if we have solved all the errors in the content what we are doing. So what is an alternative method for this prototype development? An alternative is the planned development. What we do in this planned, we will be having an higher level of insight into the problem. We need to know the more details of the problem, so that we can able to make the programming much easier. So in the previous tutorial, we have discussed a problem on time, where we were handling the addition of two different times, how we are adding it. So when the time, because it's having a constraint, we can't display 60 seconds or 60 minutes. These problems, how we are going to manage? Or when we are adding some seconds with the time, how we are going to do those things? So in order to implement that type of problems, this more preferable is the planned development, but we need to have an higher level of insight into the problem, so that we can able to generate the better solution. It can work for any conditions. So we'll just have a definition of the planned development, a way of developing programs that involves high level insight into the problem and more planning than incremental development or prototype development. So we require more care here. So what is the advantages when we use this much of effort in writing a solution? So once we write some solution, using that, if we are doing any other problems, it should be easily modifiable with the required changes. So in that way, if we write it, the program will be more reliable. Okay, we'll discuss how to execute, or a simple example we'll take and we'll execute this. What is this higher level insight into the problem with the same problem which we have discussed on the time. Here we have considered the first problem, adding of two different times. So what is the first thing we do it? Already we have created the class. We have some methods which we are just reusing it. Okay, we are not recreating the same thing. The main thing here what we are doing is we are converting the time into seconds. So how we are converting? We know every minute is equal to 60 seconds, every hour is equal to 60 minutes. We are using that logic and we are converting. We receive the time. So if the hours, whatever the hours into 60 plus an additional minutes, we'll add it, store it in the minutes, and minutes, whatever it is, into 60 plus, and the seconds, whatever the additional seconds we have, add it, and we'll get the seconds. So return seconds. With this, we are converting the time into whatever the time into seconds. We are converting it to seconds. Now, here we have written make time, because we have converted the time into seconds now. Whatever the result, we don't want to print the result in the form of seconds. It has to be converted back into the time. So we are converting it back into the time with this logic. And then we are already written this, but now here we are adding seconds. Whatever the time of t1, it's in the form of seconds. Whatever the time of t2, it's in the form of seconds. You convert that, because so we receive time here. You invoke a function to convert into seconds, and both add it, we get the seconds. So we'll return this seconds into the function make time, and then we'll convert that seconds into one required format of the time, and once we get that result, we'll receive that and we'll print it. The main logic in this entire thing is this: how we are going to convert into one seconds into one time format, hours, minutes and seconds. So you already know this logic, we'll quickly discuss. So we are creating a time object, so it means it's a new one, that is a pure function, right? So we are creating a time object and we need to get the hours back. How we get the hours back? For 1 hour it is 3600 seconds, right? So whatever the seconds, do the division 3600. Why this double slash? Because I'm using a Python version 3, so it's double slash. Otherwise you can use single slash. Just division it is. So that quotient will be of the hours. So whatever the seconds we receive, to the mod operation with 3600, we get the remainder. With that remainder, do the division with 60, that we get the minutes. Whatever the seconds, do the mod operation with 60, we get the seconds. So with these mathematical computations or the arithmetical computations, we get back the time in the format what we require it. So what is the current time and what is the bread time? The current time we have modified it. So if you don't want that modifications to be done, we'll just execute this and then we'll get back this results. Okay. So with this, 9 hours 14 minutes 30 seconds, 3 hours 15 minutes 50 seconds, this is the current time and the bread time. So what we are doing now, we'll just add with, yes. So we add up these two, the current time and the current time and the bread time, we'll get this result. So the result is 12 hours 50 minutes 20 seconds. You get the same result here, right? This is how we can able to do the planning. The prototype will be more disadvantageous when compared to the planning, because we have an insight. Once we write the script, how it is more useful now? We have written here to add 2 times. Suppose I want to do a subtraction of 2 times. We convert into 1 seconds, then we can make use of it, just subtract. So we get the subtracting 2 different times. With the small changes in it, we can able to implement this. What if you are using the same logic what we had discussed in the previous class? With such a simple thing, it won't work there, because 3 seconds, if it is 30 seconds, how we are going to do the subtraction? It has to extract the borrow and then it has to do the computations. What if in case of minutes, the same thing? So it has to take a borrow, every borrow will be of equal to 60 seconds, if it is a second, if it is a minute, 60 minutes. So need to reduce an hour, then need to do the computations. That computation will take more time. You can try that. So to know what is the complexity in converting that problem, can we convert just by changing the signs over there? Definitely it is not possible, but here it is very simple. So even if you are learning something complex, but the modifications based on the new requirements will be incorporated easily. That is more advantageous when we are using planning. So using this concept, you can just write the program to add a time with a given seconds. You can do that as an homework. The next, we just discuss, almost we have completed. Sorry. So the last 2 things we need to discuss, that is like, what is generalization? What is the meaning of generalization? When we are implementing, in some ways, when we are converting from base 6, 60 to the base 10, and back is harder than just dealing with times. Like, so all these things we have just discussed now. We are converting because the time is in base 60 form. You have to convert that into base 10, and that will be more harder. And then we need to come back and then again convert it back. It takes more time and gives little more complexity while doing it. But the thing is, once you have done this tough job, so the same program will be easily, with a less effort, you can just do the modifications on it based on the requirement. So we get a program that is shorter, easier to read and debug, and more reliable, right? So that's what I told when we written program for Dodo, addition of 2 times. So if you want to make that things into subtraction, it can be done very easily. That's what's called as generalization. We need to write the solution so it can work with irrespective of the constraints or different sorts of inputs. It should be capable enough to handle the things. So with that, we complete this generalization topic, and also you know the next topic is an algorithms. You already know what is an algorithm, what type of things will be called as an algorithm. So if we are taking some example, like I want to do some multiplication problem. I'll be recalling what is the table which I've learned. So I'll be using that table, I'll memorize and I'll do that. That type of things will not be called as an algorithms. So it has to be having some technique. So using which we can able to solve the problems. Suppose if you are considering and searching algorithm of a linear set, suppose, irrespective of the type of input what we provide, it works because we are searching one by one from the beginning element till the last. So otherwise still it finds the elements. That is how we are following the procedure over there. So those are called the algorithms. When you write a general solution for a class of problems as opposed to a specific solution to a single problem, you have written an algorithm. Okay, that's it about the classes and functions. With this, we completed the second chapter in the module 4, the classes and functions. In the next class, we'll discuss with the last chapter in the module 4, that is the classes and methods. Already we know what is a function. In the next class, we are going to learn the methods. And in the previous topics, we already discussed what is a method, and we know a bit what is a method, how to invoke a method, what is a class, how to invoke a class. So it will be more easier to learn the next chapter as well. With this, I'm winding up this session. Thank you for learning.